The S&P 500, the Nasdaq, that's what we're discussing here on the day. When we jump specifically into the SPY and the Nasdaq, let's talk about where we're at. Now, we have discussed, if you go to the 4 hours of the daily, you get a good view of the broad overall trend. You zoom out, we can see where we're at. We're holding that 14.6 level on the Nasdaq. Okay. Now, if we look at broad terms of where you get really like DEFCON 1, DEFCON 2, right? Like right in the brink of nuclear warfare for the stock market, right? It's below 14.6, right? This is like the wall, the great wall, if you will. So above this level, there's like hope. You're looking for a balanced reaction. Now, we look at the action that we had this week, to start out the action, for Monday. We have that push down. We test lows Monday morning. We bounce right off lows, right? We 14.5 roughly. We make new local lows and bounce up. Okay, pretty simple. Now, the top side here is 14.85. Then over that, you're looking more at 15K. But then ultimately, where you get really bullish, again, if you haven't been following, is above 15.4. You got to hold that level. But there's a trend here, right? So what we can't see is on the daily time frame is where you want to see these holds. And so you're just seeing a lot of wicks at these lows, meaning buyers are pushing you back up, holding you at this level. You get to 15.4, and again, you're seeing wicks at that level as well. Now, if you would like to, verify, backtrack us to see what we were looking at here, you can go back to roughly October 11th, October 12th on the videos here on the channel. Check those out for yourself. And just kind of see and get a little bit of a refresher there. But if you don't, we can go over that right now. So we look at something like SPY and we look what's happening here. Now we look at ES, Nasdaq, I like to look at futures and then go into, the indexes or the ETFs there, right? So with ES, you see ES is clearly breaking through lows, right? Lower low, lower low, lower low. Pretty bad. ES is also below that 200 SMA on the daily. Right? This is adjusted just so you know for the future contract rollovers, right? On top of that, when we zoom out, you can also see we had the head and shoulders play out here. Kind of ugly, a little bit ugly with that right shoulder. You break down, retest that neckline, and we push and reject back down. Pretty bad, right? Pretty bad. Okay. I'm going somewhere here, so bear with me. We had some earnings plays and things along those lines. But when we go to this SPY, I think it's important that we look at SPY and Qs and where their moving averages are as well. The 200 SMA is something that we're clinging on to, right? So yesterday we see that hold and close below, and then today we remount that level. We've talked heavily about this, okay? Now we zoom back into like the 15-minute, and we can kind of see how we traded here on the day. Right? We're mounting above that, and we're pushing into this level. Now, this leads me to where we're at right now in live time. So what we said yesterday was pretty simple, right? You don't want to look for too many shorts in the market yet. Why? Because earnings. So today we have Microsoft and Google, both of which beat earnings today. Tomorrow morning we have Boeing. Tomorrow afternoon we have Meta, also big earnings. Okay. So when we look at these, I'm very clear with what I've kind of viewed here. Directly to consumer companies, I think those have room to hurt. B2B, and cloud-based companies, I think those have room to continue to have growth. Because if we look at what's happening here in this recession, people want to say, oh, we're not in a recession yet. It hasn't happened. Now, for those people, you might just be disconnected from reality. And that's okay. Right? We have to respect people now. People can say they can be whoever they want, and they can pretend to be whoever they want. So I respect your opinion. But we are currently, or we're in a recession from the beginning of 2022 with the start of the Ukraine war, into essentially basically the beginning of January, in which we broke out from this year, pushing back to the upside, pretty close back to those highs. But anyways, that's where we're at right now, right? This was a recession, right? A year-long downside, and now maybe it's rolling over to the rest of the economy. It's important to know the economy and stocks are two different things as well. Again, don't shoot the messenger. So let's just talk about where we're at and kind of how we're maneuvering. We're at this place here. We can see we're at a big support as well. So with these companies, it's important to realize what they're doing and kind of how they're taking advantage of this time, right? So right now, it's important to understand the economy overall is slowing. It should slow. Rates are at astronomical numbers. And basically in 2020, it was everyone, please borrow money. It's free. 2022 or 2023, it's, hey, look, yeah, it's going to be 8% interest on all that money you're taking. Pretty terrible. Not a good, way to get the market stimulated. So it's not surprising that, we have some turbulence. But when we look at companies like Microsoft, when we look at companies like Amazon and Nvidia and these semiconductor companies, people focusing on cloud names like Google, Amazon, like I mentioned, Microsoft, and then, of course, companies transitioning into AI, Meta, and all these other companies as well, right? You expect them to continue to spend money. We just do, right? And that's why their earnings are showing the numbers they're showing right now. That even though consumers are slowing, businesses are still growing. Fact of the matter. The year of downside growth, of slowing growth, and where it really hit home, where people weren't ready, especially companies, was 2022. Sorry, shoot the messenger, don't care. But I'm going to tell you the truth every single day on this channel. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go over these stocks and as we go over where the indexes are going moving forward. Now, the first thing I will say is, hey, consider liking, consider subscribing. Helps with the channel tons. I appreciate all love and support. The Discord link is down below. I always tell people, don't join Discord blindly expecting to become a millionaire, because I never want that to be advertised. But what I do want to be advertised is that we're going to help you understand how we trade, why we trade, what we're getting into throughout the day, and why we're making those decisions. So hopefully one day you don't need a Discord, right? You're actively learning throughout the day. Now, giving you a little bit of a visual what we did today. Today's one of those days. It's a one-trick pony of a day. We're looking at AVGO creep into the a little bit here, right? We mount 873.7. We're looking for volatility to 880. Then a possible break to 889, right? Mount, boom. Where do we go to? We pushed up to 880, right? Okay, we can see that. Okay, so I want to highlight, we're breaking this down in real time, going over in voice chat as well if you are in voice chat, going over the reasons, everything in between there as well. You can also go see gains and losses, showing what's happening here. Traders also, taking advantage of this market, doing what they got to do there. But again, it's important to realize we're trying to help and educate while we're there. Now, also, too, you're going to see these levels here on the chart. Now, obviously, some of these I'm drawing. I have educational videos on how I'm looking at those. But I also want to give a special shout out and understand what these levels come from so you can get them for yourself. And before we go any further, I want to give a special shout out to the sponsor of this video and a new sponsor of the channel, Chart Prime. But what if I could tell you now we have something in a tool that's going to be able to give you all of our key levels, or a little bit of a cheat sheet going into these as well. And then also breaking down massive levels you need to be watching for buyers and sellers in between the charts. Or what if you can also go into your chart, quickly identify the patterns that are there, whether it be broadening wedges, head and shoulders, double tops, or anything along those lines. And one thing that you guys know is that I'm never going to stand behind a product that I wouldn't use myself. That's why every single day I am officially going to be using Chart Prime and these specific indicators to help us on the live streams and in the daily videos to make charting quicker, faster, and of course giving us advantage to see things that we may have missed that AI will no longer be missing. And this is just one chart. If you're interested, the link will be down below, and if you use our code, you'll get 30% off every single month. Make sure you check them out. And if you have questions, feel free to comment down below. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so let's jump into indexes, right? Because indexes ultimately paint the direction of how we're trading throughout the day, every single day. Now, obviously, for me to get bearish, I need to get us below 14.6 on Nasdaq. I want to make that really clear. Tech is the name of the game. Tech has been holding the economy up for some time now. Okay, we need to understand that, number one. So right now we're operating at 14.85. I would love to see us get above 14.85, pushing back into 15K to get a little bit more bullish, trade some upside here. Now, it's also important to realize Microsoft did report very good earnings. Okay, solid earnings. Right? They're pushing back into 343. And I've been mentioning this week, I said, Microsoft, if there's a company I like, rewatch the videos from the good beginning of this week and last week. I like Microsoft. You're breaking over local highs back here in September 13th. We're pushing back into local highs again of, 350, 360 roughly, right? Important to understand that, important to be watching that. So going into tomorrow, definitely be looking to see if we hold above 341. Holding above that gets me excited. Tyler doesn't get too excited too often, right? So again, we're to be looking for the next level too. Get over that. I mean, it's a long ways up to 351, but it's definitely a road that I could see us hitting. The big, massive level up there as well. So definitely keep it on your radar. Be tracking it. Also, too, you have Meta earnings tomorrow. I expect volatility here, but Meta is going to be one of those names I'm very interested in. Okay, you go to something like the daily chart, right? We can see Meta, all past year so far. It's the best performing stock. It just is. Okay. Better. I think it's better than Nvidia. I do think over the past year, it's better than Nvidia year to date, at least it is better than Nvidia. Okay. So Meta, right now, I'm not going to call for all time highs. I'm not going to be that guy just yet, But let's talk about levels that we've been looking at, levels that we've been watching, okay, and expecting. Now, some of these levels I had to get rid of a while back, but we're still coming back into them. Okay, so go to the 2 hour. I already kind of know where all of them are. So with Meta earnings, I'm not going to tell you, just like with Microsoft, I wasn't saying, hey, go long, do this, do that, right? Incredibly risky trading earnings. I'm not the earnings guy. I'm not the earnings guru. But when we look at this action, I do want to say, you know, compared to a lot of these names, Meta has been one of the strongest. Now, I'm going to say this too. They've been mentioning the words AI a lot. They've been saying it a lot. AI, AI, AI. Now it's kind of crunch time. What are they going to do there? Also, the hype behind Threads. So last earnings, that was kind of a big talk. This earnings, what do they do with that? What are the plans there? What's the user retention? Where are they going with that? Also, too, what are they doing as far as, you know, what they're doing with advertisements? How are they bouncing back there? We saw YouTube AdSense do very well for Google. We saw Snapchat also do decent. So the question is now how does this lean over back into Meta? Can we get some love there? Also, the implementation of AI into their, you know, their base here, right? With simplifying ads as well, making more efficient ads. What can they do? They spoke a big game, right? So we need to be watching what's happening with Meta. I'm telling you, Meta on earnings, we've seen some wild movement. So again, Meta, you're looking, and we've been looking. I mean, honestly, it's so tough. We've been calling for like 332, 331 for a while. And you got that push up like almost to 331 just back here in October. But we get back above this level, 332, 331. That's a major, major level on the daily and the weekly. You get above that, you're cruising, you know, into local highs as well. Or I'm not going to say all-time highs, but really close. Again, Meta's been performing, and they have a lot of room. They've definitely taken advantage over the past few weeks and months during this time. So that's things that we're liking there. Also, too, going into semiconductors, things like NVIDIA, right? Now, everyone, too, I mentioned this in yesterday's video. And I posted this same chart on Twitter and everything like that. Now, again, if you're looking to play a head and shoulders, right? So people keep asking, like, oh, I'm shorting it, man. I'm gonna catch the head and shoulders, right? Woo! I'm like, what are we talking about? There's no signal to go short yet, right? You have the pattern forming, but you got to break the neckline, retest the neckline. I mean, you can just short the break of the neckline, but preferably retest, and then you push down. It's a pretty simple, easy trade, to be honest. It's one of the easiest. But until then, like this, shorts get trapped, right? Because people start hammering prematurely. And again, NVIDIA has been one of the top 3 performers on the year. One of the best companies out there, right? All this time, people were saying, oh, you short NVIDIA, and they just lost money, and they disappeared into the darkness, and they lost all their accounts, and now they're broke, and now they're, you know, they're re-getting their fingers, and they're commenting, oh, we're going to dump, right? Calm down, little Timmy. Calm down, okay? So again, those same people that are saying short here, then short here, then short here are probably saying short here. So again, once everyone starts talking about the same thing, I typically lose interest. But again, I have alerts set at like 410, 405. Those levels break. It's kind of like the green light to go short. Until then, though, you're pushing back into 440. You look very strong. It's also important to realize we've had this notion that semiconductors are weak, but there's only a few that really look weak. For instance, NVIDIA was one of the weak ones when it was down to 410, but now it's bouncing back $30 in like 2 days. AMD back near $100, but I mentioned this here, like literally yesterday. You're just holding your 200 SMA, grinding on top. These are all sitting on major, major supports. Okay? Now, but what happens when you paint a picture about that semiconductor name that we've been talking about, right? You remember when they rebalanced the Nasdaq? They brought NVIDIA down a little bit on how big the weight it maintained in the Nasdaq. What was that name? Right? What was the name of that really big semiconductor company? AVGO. Again, we mentioned it. This is when we traded today. You zoom out here, and AVGO is just sitting at highs. I mean, granted, 920 is the all-time high here, but I mean, you're within 50 points. You're within 10% of all-time, 7-8% all-time highs. So I think we're disconnecting from reality where we're at here. You know, someone would say, oh, the Magnificent Seven's carrying everything. But yeah, there's some other names that are getting kind of close to being in there. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some weak names out there. Tesla, Apple looking struggling. But I mentioned yesterday, there's a reason Apple's not reporting this week. We need to understand that as well. I'm a believer in that Apple's earnings short term. I don't think they look good. And I also couldn't tell you the last time Apple reported earnings not on the same week as Amazon. It's been like this for a year and a half. And now Apple's the week after. Very interesting behavior here. So I think it's almost setting up again for short-term upside, at least into next week, right? So again, we look at these names and they still all look really good. Now again, I don't mention these names and say, oh, look, they're all bullish, they're all super strong, go long, go long. I mention this so you have a different perspective on the market, right? I'm always trying to teach a main bullet point here on the channel, something you're going to always notice, right? The goal when it comes to trading, you've heard me say this. I say it all the time because I hope and pray it goes in our heads, right? And then this is what I always say too. When you join Discord, you're not just going to be rich and be all knowing, right? It's not going to happen. You still got to put a lot of effort in. I see people leaving Discord and I'm just like, I was talking to Jay about it today. I was just like, I don't understand why people are still over trading or trading weekly contracts or taking super high risk options. I don't get it. We have, we mark out the roadmap, we mark out the plan, we mark out the key levels, and I just don't understand why we get overzealous or greedy or FOMO, whatever it may be, right? And so I always want to hammer this home. So if you hear me repeat the same thing, it's because it's important. The number one thing it comes to when it comes to trading, the number one focus, it needs to be on the top of your goals, the top of your list. Get a sticky note and literally stick it on your monitor, right? Put it on your screensaver on your phone if that's what you're trading off of, on your laptop. I don't care, right? Protect your capital. That is the name of the game, right? Especially if you're new, especially if you have a smaller account, right? That capital is your lifeline. That capital is what depicts game over or, succeeding, right? That's what it is. So we get in this mentality of, okay, I got to make X amount of dollars every day. Well, what if the overall goal switches from I got to make X amount of dollars to I want to make a percent wise, right? I want to, while we're chopping, I always say too, right? Go to SPY, giving you a visual here. Where do you make your money? Do you make your money when you're consolidating or chopping back and forth in a direction? Or do you make your money when you break out of those massive key levels? 418, you all remember that level, right? Remember this time period from around, really it was like March, April basically into like July, August. I mean, rewind the tape on the channel. Remember how many winners in a row we were just letting ride and go? That's where you make a bulk of your money, is the breakout time. It is. Okay. Just like if we break back below 418, the break to the downside, the continuation, especially with the 200 SMA, I'm not blindly bullish. I'm watching these levels and watching these earnings. I have an opinion, but I'm not blindly trading them, right? I'm protecting myself because I understand this right here is a pivotal time, right? This is not a small, easy level to break or, deciding factor here, right? We have to be paying attention, especially with the 200 SMA. The last time we broke above or below, let's go to when we broke below. You broke below 200 SMA here. We dropped from 442 down to 420 in a matter of 2 days. 2 days. We broke back up. We broke it again here. We broke from 444 to lows of 411 from February 10th to February 23rd or 22nd, right? A little bit longer, around 10 days. You drop 40, 30 points on the market. You bounce back up. You reject again. You go from 447. You proceed to go to nonstop down to lows from essentially April 12th into June 16th, almost in a straight line. Get a little chop here and there, but it's pretty easy to trade. You can even trade just straight down to May 20th. So about a month of just straight downside. You have a few bounces, but that's about it, right? And we just continue to see the trend. We break above this, and remember what happens? We get clear upside. So we're back at a huge decision point, a huge support. And I say that to show the opportunity, right? So we can hone in and understand, right? If I can help one person save a few dollars to, encourage you to journal, encourage you to take notes on your trading, encourage you to fix mistakes, then I'm going to. That's my focus here, right? My focus isn't here to get you to sign up for Discord or donate money to the channel or do crazy stuff. That's why we have free content. That's why when you go to our channel, right, you hover over, you go over to education. This is all free. It's all free. All absolutely free. Yeah, we have sponsors on the channel, but having sponsors on the channel is so we don't have to depend or we don't have to push people to pay us for content. That's how we're able to have free content here, right? That's why I say too, if you're in Discord, right, you can do this on your own. You can go down here to Discord, right? Make your own little server. It's free. Do it for yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, that's who you got to do it for. It's for yourself, right? That's why we encourage this so much on the channel. And I keep saying Jameis because he's been killing it lately in Discord. Shout out to Jameis, right? Jameis, again, I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory on this guy, okay? He's been with us since, I believe, the date's right here, November 3rd last year, so around like the Black Friday sale, right? Jameis just had a daughter, and so he ended up like withdrawing a lot of money because he had been like trying to build up money. So when he had his daughter, I guess he had his expenses. We all know how that goes, right? Most of you guys are older and have kids, right? So Jameis redeposited some money, right, that he had left over that he put aside to this, and he started growing that account again. I'm not here to tell you that you're going to get rich super quick or you're going to make phenomenal trades every single time. Jameis had ups and downs, but he's documented every trade for the past 3 to 4 weeks. Over the past 3 to 4 weeks, his win rate's been 88%. Okay, profit factor, almost 29 to 1. Average win and loss, 3.91 when we're looking at the risk to reward there as well. Understand, it's not going to happen instantly. From the 5th of October, 0. I think he donated like a little bit, like he put on, not donated, but he deposited like 500 total into almost $5,000 on the day of October 21st. And then this past week going into as well, getting this almost to 10K. So I don't say this to encourage crazy trading or anything like that, but I'm telling you, it's a journey. Jameis put in the work. And I think that's something that we don't focus enough on. And I'm not going to ever lie to you. I'm never going to tell you it's going to be easy. That's why I say Discord's not going to be free game. You're just going to instantly get rich, right? But if you put in the work, you'll understand what to do, how to trade, when to get aggressive, when to be passive, what stocks you should be focusing on, things along those lines, right? And it's always going to come down to one thing, though. It's going to come down to the work you're willing to put into this stuff, right? So again, if you're the guy that just goes and watches a few YouTube videos every day and that's your work you're putting in, you're discounting yourself. You're not actually learning how to trade, right? You're relying on other individuals, right? I'm just telling you right now. That's the fact of it. You're not going to watch a YouTube video every single day, get rich, happy, happy, happy. Go to the educational services. Put into it. This is free. FREE. Right? Find someone else. Even if you don't like our style, how we use supply and demand, key levels. If you don't like that, right? You're like, oh, I don't have enough money for Chart Prime, right? I don't want to use it, right? Or if you don't have enough money for it, you're like, I just want to learn how to trade like this way, right? I want to do it all myself. It's all free, right? So again, put the effort in, guys. I have to continue to say that. Maybe people are going to get mad about the viewpoint here, but I want to encourage you guys to continue to put the work in. Jameis, right? You know, sometimes, and this is to you specifically, we get caught up in what we're doing here, but at the end of the day, that's what we want to do, me and Jay. That's our goal, is to get people to where you're at. Because Jameis is honestly in a position now that he doesn't need to be in Discord if he doesn't want to, right? He learned, he got it all. He understands what we're doing. He asked the questions along the way. Now he's more in there for the community and different ideas that are popping up. But half the time, Jameis is now throwing trades in as well. And again, I'm saying this for everyone, right? Your goal should be to get there. Your goal should not be to follow and copy and mimic, right? Understand it. Have a good one. Check. Guys, I'm telling you, check this out. Use the education. Especially on slower, choppier days where we're range bound, right? Use the education, okay? Focus on yourself, not everybody else.